Hi, I'm Amy Sterly, and I'm an artist living in North Powys, and Oriel Davis, the gallery in Newtown, has asked me to make a video of a creative activity that relates to some of the projects that are happening in Newtown at the moment. And it's really exciting. There's a place called Cultivate in Newtown and a project Where the Severn Smiles, and they are both working together to create a corridor along the River Severn in Newtown to plant fruit trees and edible herbs and things that are for the local community to help them look after their local area, and also it's stuff that they can actually eat as well. And so for my activity, I thought a good idea would be to make a little booklet that someone could take around, like a scrapbook, or for recipes, and it will have little spaces to maybe put herbs in, and you can collect things, and then you will have this as a keepsake. And you can make, once you know how to make it, you can make ones of different sizes and something for everyone in the family. So what I've done to start with is, this is the booklet that I am going to make, A Taste of Your Countryside. So the idea was that you could collect recipes and scraps in it. It will have an envelope, so you can have a little pocket, if I can get into it, to put things into. And you can also cut out things from magazines, a recipe for leek and potato soup. There's apple pie, things like that that you could collect that maybe would relate to some of the plants that are going to be grown along the Severn. So what I have done to start with is I have used the envelope as a template. So I've cut all my paper the same size as the envelope, but double the size. So you can see that when you fold it, it will be the same size of the envelope. And then I've used a piece, it's a piece of decorative card, but you could use a piece of cereal box that you've cut out, and that just has to have the pages fit inside and just be a little bit bigger so that when you shut it, the pages don't stick out. So that is what the starting point is. And I just cut the paper. This is just normal printer paper, but you could use sketch paper, anything that's not too thick. So I just use scissors, but you could measure it if you want to be really perfect about it. So how we're going to put this together is we're going to do a sewn binding. So we're going to use some embroidery thread, and we're going to sew the whole booklet together. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is know where you're going to put the holes in the center. So I have this piece of paper that's just the same length as this. So what I'm going to do is fold it in half, and then I'm going to mark it here where that center point is, and then I'm going to just make two other marks. They don't have to be exactly in the center. You can kind of put them anywhere. So that will be where the binding is, and that's how we're going to put all the holes in the same place in every piece of paper. So what I'm going to do is mark each piece . Now, we've got all our pages marked, and we want to put a hole in each sheet. Now, you could do maybe more than one at once. It depends how thick the paper is, but we want to put the holes through each piece of paper. And I'm going to use the needle. This is an embroidery needle. I'm just going to use the needle that I'm going to be sewing it with. Okay, so now I have all these different sheets that are ready. Now I'm going to assemble the book and make sure that all the pieces meet together, hopefully, through the holes. So if I just try to get them back here, and then just work the needle through the holes so that you can get it through, push it through and work it round so the holes are a little bit bigger, because we want to be able to sew through without too much trouble. So we're going to get it through. Be careful of your fingers when you're doing this. You don't want to poke it through your finger. Oops. A bit of wind here. I'm out in my garden, so it's a nice day, but a bit windy. So let's see. So I want my pocket at the back, I think. And then just pushing it through all of them together. Right, so now we have the holes going through, oops, like that. Now, what I have here is some embroidery thread, but you could use any kind of string, anything that's a bit stronger than normal thread. So I have all 6 pieces of the embroidery thread together to make it quite strong. But you could use bookbinding string, or if you made the holes a bit bigger, you could use a kebab skewer and like really work the holes more if you wanted to use some thicker cord or string. So now this is how we will sew it together. Right, we're ready now to stitch the binding of our booklet. The holes go all the way through quite nicely. I'm using quite a sharp bookbinding needle. It doesn't have a big head here, so you can put it through a hole quite easily. You can use any kind of sewing needle. There's other ones that aren't as sharp. You could try that if you're worried about someone younger doing it. And if you're younger, you might want a parent to help you with this bit. So what I'm going to do is sew through the center. And then back up the next hole. Just be very careful of where you're holding it. Don't put your fingers over the holes when you're sewing up through that. Then down the end piece. And then up. Back up through that hole. Now, instead of going into here, we're going to go all the way across. Oops. Oops. There. And then come up. The final hole. Back down that next hole, and then we're going to come back up through the middle. So then we'll have a stitch all the way across on the outside, and then we're going to go on the other side of that length there. So then we pull it tight, and then we just want to tie it off. So we're going to go through that and basically just tie a knot here. Just twist it there. And I'm just going to cut this. And maybe do a double knot. Right, and you can cut that shorter. So there we have the 4 stitches. You can fold it again. And it has a nice stitched binding. So I've done a bit of collage on the front, and you can just cut and paste some things. I had some other magazine pictures here. There's some apple pie. There's a recipe, which I could put in my pocket, or I could paste that into the pages. So I've got the end of the envelope. I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages in my envelope, which has a handy little pocket. And a little recipe of leek and potato soup at the end. So the possibilities are endless. Okay, well, now that I have my booklet, and it's a quite small one. You could make one that was A4 size by using an A3 piece of paper and folding it, or you know, any size you want. I've just made this so that the envelope fits nicely in, so we have a nice pocket here. So I'm in my own garden, and I have a lot of herbs planted. So one of the things that you might want to do is look up different herbs so you can identify them, because in Newtown, Cultivate is going to be producing this map of different trees and herbs that they're planting all along the Severn and around Oriel Davis as well. And they'll have a list of different trees, apples, elders, berries, and it's going to be really exciting that you'll be able to collect some of these plants in the autumn, and so recipes would be useful. So you could keep recipes in there, you could keep the map also in your booklet, and things like this. This is sage. You could pick some sage leaves, there's some thyme, there's some rosemary, and you just need a little bit. You could put it in your envelope and take it home and have a recipe where you need these herbs in it. So it's a really exciting project, and I hope this will be a useful little activity for you to do at home. And you can use this in any form. You could have sketchbooks, little journal. So I hope you've enjoyed that.